everybody, welcome back to Self-Care Sunday. I believe that this is episode 7 of Self-Care Sunday, so that's kind of exciting. Today we're going to start out as per usual. I'm going to start out with a virtue from the Family Virtues Guide, and then we'll move into a sort of more self-centering meditative activity. Last week we worked on consideration. That was an interesting one for me because I actually spent quite a bit of this week alone. I was cat sitting for somebody, so it was just me and the cats. So there wasn't really a lot of other people to consider in my space. But it was a good practice to have consideration for myself and what my experiences and preferences and all those things are. So let me know how consideration went for you if you practice consideration. This week's virtue is courage. So what is courage? Courage is personal bravery in the face of fear. It is doing what needs to be rather than just what you think. It comes from knowing yourself and knowing deep down that you can and should do something. Love can give us courage. It can give us strength and help us do the right thing without letting fears stop us. So then it goes on and it says, why should we practice courage? And how should you practice courage? If you'd like those pages, let me know. Signs of success. When you do what you know is right, even when it is hard or scary, you admit mistakes and learn from them, you're willing to try new things, and you're willing to ask for help from others. You can find courage in your heart even if others laugh at you or call you names, and you can go ahead and do something you want to do even if you still feel afraid. You can keep practicing and keep trying with courage when you avoid new things or have a fear of failing. When you pretend you're not afraid, when you are afraid to admit your mistakes, and when you do what everyone else does even if you know it's wrong. So those are a couple of the examples of things when it's important to keep trying. Then my mom actually printed this out and stuck this in the book for this week, so I'm gonna read it because I think it's always cool when other people pitch in. This is talking about 6 types of courage. So there's physical courage, social courage, moral courage, emotional courage, intellectual courage, and spiritual courage. So I'm just going to pick a couple to read. So for example, spiritual courage is living with purpose and meaning through a heart-centered approach towards all life and oneself. So different people choose to do that through things like religion or practicing virtues or just being a good person in the world and connecting to other people and seeing what that's like. Emotional courage is feeling all of your emotions, positive and negative, without guilt or attachment. Which I kind of like that, because I feel like oftentimes we feel like we are our emotions, but we're just beings feeling our emotions. And I think that's really fascinating because sometimes they really feel like they are us. So that's something I've been trying to notice more, is like when a feeling comes up, I am not the feeling, I am experiencing the feeling. And that's hard. It's hard to remember that, especially when you're feeling really strong emotions. Social courage, to be yourself unapologetically, and physical courage, to keep going with resiliency, balance, and awareness. So those are some examples of courage. The affirmation for courage is, I have the courage to try new things. I admit my mistakes and learn from them. I listen to my heart, and I have the courage to do what is right. So, I think courage can be really challenging, especially in times like right now where there's so much polarization of just, oh, you have to be on one end of the world or the other end of the, the spectrum of belief systems. And so holding firm in that belief when there's a lot of other people around you who have very different beliefs can be really challenging, and it can be really difficult to stand up for the things that you believe in. So courage is something that I'm going to be practicing this week. I will let you guys know how that goes. If you'd like to join me, you're welcome to. As always, if that virtue of courage is not one that you'd like to practice this week, feel free to pick a different one. If you ever need a list and you're like, Lizzy, what is this list that you're working from? There is a full list of virtues in here. So if you want a list to choose from and you don't feel like I'm always picking ones that you'd like to work on, let me know. I can send that list your way. And then, wow, that was simple. That was crazy that it went so fast. Now we're just gonna move into the next portion of the evening. And I had kind of two different little practices that I wanted to do. The first one is one that I actually did with my therapist this week, and I found it really personally helpful. So I just thought I'd pay it forward, a little bit of free therapy for you all. This one is about noticing our bodies, and it's a body scan again, but this one's a little bit more specific. So especially when you're living in a body that doesn't always do what you want it to do, or can feel really challenging to get through the day in, or you maybe don't love every aspect of yourself, that's okay, but it can be really easy to discount really, really important things that our bodies can do for us. They keep us alive, which is a big one. Even when it feels like sometimes they're not like doing a great job at that, they're doing it. Um, so I just wanted to kind of start like right at your head. Specifically, I usually start with the brain, and then we're gonna work our way down. And the way that my therapist had me do this is she said, I want you to think about each part of your body, working your way down, and think about all of the things that that part of your body can do for you. And I thought that was really interesting because it's really easy to forget all of the things that our body is doing simultaneously without us even thinking about it. And it's really easy to focus on the things that our body can't do or won't do. So, starting with your brain, you can kind of think about, like, oh, my brain is thinking right now. Which is huge. It's crazy that my brain can be thinking right now. So you can think about all the things that your brain does for you. It helps send signals to all of your organs. It helps your body do what it needs to do. It makes decisions. It interprets all of the things that your body is telling it. You can think, you can keep memories or keep things in your brain for short amounts of time or longer amounts of time. Your brain interprets all the signals from all of your senses, like taste and smell. Yeah, I don't know. What else can your brain do? Your brain can sleep. Your brain can be awake. Your brain can do a lot of things. So just kind of think about that for a second. Maybe try to come up with one or two more things that your brain can do. I know I just listed a lot, so that's a little bit tricky. And then this isn't something that my therapist suggested, but I like to thank my brain for doing those things. And just like acknowledge it for a second. And then we're going to move on to another part of our body. And you might want to choose like your eyes, for example. What do your eyes do for you? Just try to come up with like a couple things. Your eyes can see. What else can your eyes do? Do your eyes do anything else? Your eyes can detect light. And then we'll move on to our nose. And then you can move on to your mouth. And some of the things that your mouth can do kind of leads into your throat. What does your throat do for you throughout the day? It can talk, it can sing, it can breathe air, it can swallow. There's a lot of things. Just try to think about a couple more things that your throat might do for you. And then think that and move down towards your chest, and you can choose an organ inside of your chest if you would like, maybe your lungs or your heart. Spend a little bit of time on each one. We'll just take a moment here to spend some time in this area because there's a lot going on in this specific area of your body. And maybe we want to move down a little further towards your stomach. And continue to thank these areas of your body for the things that they can do. And if an area of your body hurts, feel free to not dwell on it too long or skip over it. And then I think we'll just kind of go back up towards your shoulders. And if you want to, you can kind of move those joints around and feel what they can do and how that feels. And move down your arms towards your biceps and your elbows. I'm thankful to have good elbows. Like, my elbows never cause me any trouble and I never think about them. Isn't it amazing how things just work so smoothly? We don't even think about certain parts of our body, like hardly ever. And then you can move down towards your forearms and your wrists. And into your hands and your fingers. And then we can kind of move back towards our abdomen and our stomach. You can move down further towards your lower abdomen. Think about all the organs that are there and working for you all the time. If you don't have organs that are working there for you, you can move on. You can move on to your hips. Think about how your hips are. And again, you can feel free to skip ahead or skip back to something else and spend a little bit more time in an area that really feels good. Moving that part of your body or using it if you have conscious control. And we can move down towards our knees. And you know, another really interesting thing is if you have a body part that has been replaced, it's pretty impressive and amazing that we can do that. And it's okay to also thank the area of your body that did its best for as long as it could and then move on towards another part of your body. Or you can thank the false knees. They're still knees and they still work, you know? I'm thankful to have both of my knees that work really well, but I know a lot of people have knees that have been replaced. But if it works for you now, it works for you now. That's awesome. So you can give that a little thanks. And move down towards your shins and your ankles. And think about all the things that your ankles and your shins can do for you throughout the day that you don't even notice. And then down into the toes. So that's just a little body scan that can kind of help us keep tally and remember that our body can do a lot of things even when we're focused on the things that are a little bit more challenging. So for the next practice, now that we have kind of done a little body scan, I wanted to move into more of a guided imagery type of meditation. The reason that I think guided imagery can be really good is that it helps you check into the senses that you have without actually needing to use them. And when we do that, it gives us an opportunity to kind of be really focused on that. And typically, we avoid uncomfortable sensations automatically with our brain. So as you're doing the guided imagery, you can kind of only feel the good sensations that you're looking for. So I thought we'd just start with something that a lot of people can relate to. Ones that I've done in the past are like forest or beach scenes. I think that the one we're going to do today is going to be the forest, just because I find nature really calming. I think a lot of times when we pick nature scenes, that can be a really good way to especially enjoy it, especially when like outside right now it's so cold. Sometimes just going to like a safe place or a happier space in your mind can really help take you out of whatever current discomfort you're feeling. So definitely, if this is helpful, go back to that spot on your own and just experience it. So we'll just start off today by imagining. If you want to imagine somewhere specific, you can. You can also imagine somewhere more general. But we're going to go to a forest. So however you want to get there, whatever you need to bring, think about that. Maybe you want to grab your car keys and get in your car. Maybe you just walk there. Maybe it's really close. Maybe you magically teleport. However you get there is okay. But you're there, and you're there for as long as you want to be, and you have everything you need. And as you come to the edge of the forest, you can choose to go on your own trail or the beaten path, whatever you want. And as you start walking through the forest, I want you to start listening. What does the forest sound like? Maybe you hear some birds, or the wind in the trees. Maybe a pine cone is falling. Just listen, see what you can hear. And as you continue walking and you continue listening to the sounds of the forest, you follow whatever path you chose, and you start to notice that the sun is coming down through the trees and creating like this beautiful ripple effect on the forest floor. I just want you to watch the way the sunbeams come down through the forest for a moment. And are they kind of dancing, or is it still? Is the sun really bright, or is it more dull? You might notice a really strange noise in the forest, and that's just my pets drinking out of their water bottle. And they'll stop soon. Hopefully. And once you notice the sun on the ground, as you continue walking, you start to feel it on your skin. You start to feel the forest. Maybe you feel the sun on your skin. Maybe you feel a cool breeze. Maybe you notice that there is some bark that you want to feel with your fingers. Maybe you're wearing shoes. Maybe you're not. You just keep walking. And as you keep walking through the forest, you're getting deeper and deeper. And you realize that the smell of the forest is really strong. And in a good way. It really is enveloping you. I want you to think about what kind of smells you're smelling in the forest. Maybe some kind of pine or redwood. Or maybe it's more like birches and fall and rotting leaves, and maybe it's about to rain. Can you smell the rain? What kind of smells do you smell? Then we keep walking a little bit further, and we notice some other things that we see in the forest along the way. Maybe you see some wildlife. Think about what kind of wildlife you might see. Do you want to stop and watch it for a little bit? Do you want to keep going? Hopefully the wildlife is friendly. And as we keep going into the forest, we find kind of a clearing. And in the middle of the clearing, there is this really old, large stump or log or some kind of wood. And we go up to the wood and maybe we stand on it. We notice the shape of the rings, how long that tree had been there. Maybe you kind of feel like you are the tree now, that you're standing on top of that. You can look around. Maybe you see some clouds up ahead now, up above now that you see through the clearing. Maybe you notice some different plants now that they can get sun. And when you're ready, we can go a little bit further into the forest. You can choose a new trail. Maybe there's several coming off the clearing. And we'll follow that trail into the woods. Once we're a little ways in, I want you to look up. What do you notice is different about looking up in the trees versus the clearing? What do you see up in the branches? Are you in a typical North American kind of woods? Are you somewhere that has all kinds of jungle life, like monkeys and toucans? What do you hear? Can you see the things that you can hear? Can you feel them? And once we've looked up and we've seen all of the bigger things, I want you to look down at your feet. And I want you to try to notice something really small. What's on the forest floor? Is it a pine needle? Is it an ant? Is there a string of ants? What do you see? Is there a footprint? I want you to find something really interesting. and just study it for a minute. And when you feel ready to move on, you can stand up again if you were sitting. And you can hear in the distance something that you didn't notice before. You can hear some sort of water. Maybe it's a waterfall that you can hear, kind of a rushing sound. Maybe you can hear a small creek, kind of bubbling. Maybe you can hear something more like a hot spring. Maybe the water is a little bit still, but still has moments of bubbles. I want you to follow that sound. And if you want to move your body in a different way than you have this whole time, you don't have to walk. You can run, you can skip, whatever feels good. Everything you're wearing is working. Everything you have is what you need, and you're just gonna go. And once you get to the water, I want you to have some sort of experience with the water. Maybe you feel it. Is it hot or cold? Stick your hands in. Maybe you even go for a swim. Maybe you dunk your head. However you feel the water. Do you feel it pouring over you? Do you feel it as you stick your hand in it? Does it smell different? And we're just going to spend a little bit of time here experiencing the water. And when you feel like you've got a really good sense of that area and what it's like, you realize that your stomach is rumbling and it's time for lunch. So you get out your pack, you lay down a towel or a blanket, or maybe you just sit right on the forest floor. And you open your lunchbox, and in it is your favorite foods that you packed. Maybe you have a lot of food, maybe you just have a little food. And you've got some sort of beverage, maybe you're drinking straight from the waterfall. And you just sit there and you enjoy your favorite picnic lunch. And once you've had the main portion of your meal, if you want to, if you've got dessert, you can eat that too. Just imagine the texture of the food, the taste, the flavor, maybe the temperature of the food. And when you're finished, you can pack that up and put it back in your bag, which is now a little bit less heavy. And at this point, you can look around one more time, and you can either stay at the waterfall or water as long as you want, or you can choose to go back. You can choose a new path to head back, or you can go back on the one we trailed before. And as you find some kind of closure with our hike today, you can come back to the room a little bit by noticing what you're sitting on or laying on. And if you want to, you can wiggle your fingers and toes a little bit. And whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes and you can come back to where we're at right now. And just take a moment to notice how you feel now that we've taken a whole hike. Thanks for joining me. You can go back to that hike anytime. If you want, I'll be there with you. You can also always come back to this. It's always posted afterwards. So thank you so much for joining me today. And I hope that you all have a lovely rest of your Sunday and a great start to your week. Okay. I love you all so much. Have a good night.